Well, here it is October, and it's the end of the first quarter, and that means it's time to take a deep breath and reflect on how the first 9 weeks has gone. My name is Jamie Benedict, and welcome to the Digital Marketing Classroom. At the end of the first quarter, I thought this would be a great opportunity to sit back and grade the digital curriculum as it's being implemented for the very first time at my high school and as I've gone through the first 9 weeks of the school year. Now, I've decided that there would be 8 categories that I was going to grade, 4 of them student-centered, 4 of them teacher-centered. So let's take a look at how these grades are coming out, and I'll tell you why they got the grades that they did. Let's start out with the first one, and that is student acceptance. Now, because this is all about the students, and we went to a one-to-one digital curriculum here at my high school, that means every student has a computer, and the teachers have one as well, and all of our interaction now is done through that computer. Well, I'm putting student acceptance of all of that, which is a major change for them. I'm giving a student acceptance a B. So at this point, I really think that the students have really grasped this way more than I thought they would have. I didn't quite give it an A because we do still have some holdouts. We do still have some kids that haven't quite figured out why we're doing the whole computer thing. And we still have some that are just completely fighting the system altogether. So we're not quite 100% on board yet. We're really close to that 90% mark. So we're still in the B range, but I think the students are coming around on this. Now, one of the things that I have seen as far as student acceptance is that they've really kind of made this a part of their lives in the fact that they don't really pay attention to the fact that they're using it. I am watching students who are storing this in their backpack, just kind of throw their backpack just like they would any other day. It's almost like they forgot the computers with them, so it's not a detriment to them. Now, it is damaging some computers, but hey, that's at least they're on board with what we're doing, and they haven't made the computer seem to be a negative impact on their life. They haven't changed all that much. So I think the student acceptance has actually been pretty good to this point, and I like the direction that the students are taking it. And really, for the most part, they haven't even fought the fact that they have to type up work and that they're typing up notes. I think a lot of them have really embraced that side of it because they have access to getting the information quickly, and I think they like that. Now, accepting it is one thing. Does it keep them engaged in the classroom? So let's take a look at student engagement. And this is a little bit tougher grade on this one. I'm actually going to give this one a C+. And I'm giving it a C+ for this reason. The students in the classroom who are using their computers, unless you have a really good way of monitoring them, and we do on our campus, we have a great way of monitoring them. And that works out for a lot of things, but it doesn't work out during the lessons, so that makes it a little bit harder. So on occasion, I will find, as I move around the room, that students are not quite as focused with me as I thought they might be. I have seen some games pop up. I have seen some other websites pop up, whether they're checking sports scores or something else. Every once in a while, these kids will zone out and really, they would have done the same thing with their phone. They just transferred it over to a larger screen, and they haven't changed that engagement. Now, in saying that they haven't changed the engagement, the kids would have still been on their phones, trying to sneak a text message in here or there, or a Snapchat or an Instagram. So, maybe it hasn't changed necessarily for the worse, but it hasn't changed for the better either. I do like, though, the fact that when I want kids to look something up quickly because a topic has come up in class, I do see the kids jumping right over to that. They love to get the answer first. So when you see that sort of thing, and if you can integrate that a little bit more frequently, you'll get that engagement rate to go up a little bit. So I have a feeling that as we work with this a little bit more, and certainly as I become a little bit more comfortable with how I want to use the student interaction with that computer, I think that's going to go up when we look at the semester grade. I don't think C+ is where we're going to leave this. Now, does it affect the learning for the student? I do think, for the most part, even though they may not be engaged directly in lessons, because they're able to interact with the knowledge on more of a first-hand basis, they can actually find answers for themselves. They are able to go back and look things up. They're able to interact with some of the information a little bit differently. I do think that learning has gone up, and so I'm going to put that as a B+. Now, for my classroom in particular, because I'm using the Office Mix, I do know that the kids are using those PowerPoint presentations, and they're going back and looking at them a second and a third time, and they're really trying to get that information out of there. So every once in a while when I lose them in class, I know that when they go back and watch the lessons online, that I'm actually getting that information across to them. So I'm going to put student learning at a B+, because I think that's really the ultimate goal with this, and that's where we want to see that going. And I'm hoping to get that up to an A by the semester and then hold on to that for the rest of the year. The fourth category that I looked at, and the final student category that I looked at, is just that communication with students. Communicating with our students was a big deal. You know, we're talking two different languages here, teachers and students, and because they have sort of that selective hearing and selective retention, what I really like about using the computers and having that ability to send messages to the kids is that everything now is in writing. Everything can be pushed out, and reminders can be sent to them, as well as having things posted on a calendar for them. We happen to use a program called Google Classroom. There are others out there. Schoology is one. Edmodo is another. There are several different programs that school districts have implemented as a way of communicating with teachers. I am not the biggest fan of everything about Google Classroom, because I don't think the parent communication side of that is up entirely, but I do like the way I'm able to communicate with my students by posting everything, and they can go back and look exactly where everything is. They have everything basically in a stream for them, so that they can always go back and figure out what date did we do this, what did we cover. If students are missing for a day, I used to get the emails from kids, am I going to miss anything while I'm gone? Or they would come back and say, hey, did I miss anything while I was out yesterday? I don't get those questions anymore, because the kids all know that everything we do is posted to the Google Classroom, which means that they don't even have to come and ask me. Now I get emails from kids that say, Mr. Benedict, I'm going to be absent today. I will check the Google Classroom to see what I'm missing. And that's a great feeling to know that these kids are taking ownership in that, because we've been able to communicate those expectations to them, and we've communicated to them, hey, this is where all of your information is going to be. So I'm going to leave that one at an A, and I wish it could go higher than an A, to be honest with you, because I think that the better we get with some of this stuff, the better that particular part of digital curriculum is going to look. Now let's talk about the 4 teacher categories with this. Now we talked about student acceptance being a B. Let's talk about teacher acceptance here with this one. Teacher acceptance, I'm going to put at a B-, and I think that actually might be a generous grade. I was kind of debating back and forth, B-, C+, where do I want to go with this? And I kind of leaned towards the B-, but to be completely honest with you, I usually lean towards the positive when it comes to things like this. So, you know, I could have easily given this a C+, and I'm going to put it at a B-, C+ area, if you will. Simply because I still think that there's some old school teachers, some of the teachers who had gotten very comfortable doing it one way, that are still fighting the battle. And a lot of this comes from conversations that I've had with teachers, just listening in on some conversations, and kind of following what's going on with teachers in the classroom, and just hearing some of their stories. And some of them are really grabbing hold of it and trying new things, and others are, you know what, we're just not going to do this in here. You know, I'm going to do it my way. And you know, that was to be expected. I think that will transform as we go along. It's going to change a little bit, and I think we'll see that grade go up probably closer to the end of the year, though, as opposed to by semester. I don't think we're going to see much movement in this at that point. And part of that is going to be because of this next category of teacher training. We did a lot of it, at least at my school, in the summertime as preparing for the school year. We spent really a good solid 2 weeks of teachers helping teachers, putting this all together and kind of getting things organized. But once the school year started, it didn't really pan out that way. So I'm going to go ahead and give teacher training a D at this point for the quarter. Now, at the start of the school year, I thought it was awesome. But now that the school year has started, teacher training has fallen away. But that's to be expected. We get very busy during the school year, especially that first quarter, trying to get everything in order, trying to get our classes situated and really prepare for the entire year and get off on the right foot. It's hard to find time to train teachers. And because there's so much, it's hard to find specific topics that I think teachers would look at and go, you know what, that's what I need to know more about. You can only throw so much at teachers at one time before they just throw their hands up and that's it. So I do think we're at a D right now. Hopefully that one will improve as the year goes on. The other category that I talked about early on in this was planning and preparation, and I said this was going to be something that really we had to work hard at, and it was going to take a lot of time. Basically, as an experienced teacher of almost 20 years, this is one of those categories that I looked at and I thought, gosh, it's almost starting from scratch. And how am I going to implement all of this? I'm starting new assignments with students. I'm twisting and turning some of my old assignments to fit more of a digital curriculum. So man, this is tough. And I was asked by some parents one night about how I thought this was going. And the conversation actually was a really good one with parents because they really like this. But I was telling from a teacher standpoint, this is difficult stuff to do because you're trying to change everything, and now you're essentially a day or two ahead of your students, and it's putting a lot more work, on the teacher. That's where you really need to take a deep breath. Is at what point are we going to be able to get ahead of these kids and really try to get our planning organized so that the next 9 weeks aren't as hectic. So right now I'm giving planning and preparation a D, and that's coming from an experienced teacher who was very well versed in technology. I have trained in this. I used to teach technology classes, and I even do some of the teacher trainings around here, at least in small groups when people ask for help. And it's still overwhelming at times. So hopefully that one eases up a little bit as the year goes on. But one of the things that I am seeing, and as far as planning and prep goes and training goes, and those scores are low, here's what I'm noticing, even among the general population of teachers out there as we move forward, and that is collaboration. Teacher collaboration, I think, has really grown because now you can really start to look at this across the curriculum. It's not just a group of marketing teachers talking about marketing and how do we make that better. We actually have a couple of groups here that meet that are multi-class categories. So psychology and government and history and English, all kind of working together and talking together about how do we use this in the classroom. And the great thing is that there's a lot of teacher helping teacher here. So right now I'm going to give this an A- only because I want it to go higher and I want it to get to that A later on in the year, because I think that it's just going to continue to grow. And I've seen actually some transformation here because of the collaboration, where teachers who were very resistant to it early on are now looking at this and saying, hey, you know what, this isn't so bad. This is how I'm using it in the classroom. And you're just sharing one or two tips with each other. And that is what this whole thing is all about. This whole digital marketing classroom concept is all about. And it's going to be teachers helping teachers. How do we spread the word? How do we make the thing easier for everyone? And it doesn't just have to be marketing teachers. It's going to be all of us working together to really make this great and really make this work. So there's always areas for improvement. It's always a good thing to sit back and reflect and try to figure out where we're going with this. And I want to hear your stories as far as implementing the curriculum. I want to hear how you feel it has gone. If you've already been doing this or if you're just starting it, I want to know what your thoughts are. So please join us on the Facebook page and leave a question or a comment for me. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can watch all the other videos. I've got a lot more teacher training stuff that I'm going to be posting, as far as some new teacher tech tools that I think you guys will all enjoy, but I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for coming into the Digital Marketing Classroom today, and class is dismissed.